We had yet another reversal today from the CDC. They now say even vaccinated people should mask up again, especially in parts of the country with high infection rates of COVID. And everyone in K through 12 schools should wear masks, teachers, kids, etc., regardless of their vaccination status because of rising cases in unvaccinated people. Dr. Joseph Ladapo, physician, health policy researcher at UCLA's Division of General Internal Medicine and Health Sciences Service Research, joins us. Doctor, we appreciate it, sir. Thank you. Does this new CDC guidance make any sense to you?
I mean, I think it makes sense if you look at what the CDC has been doing. They've been consistent in recommending masks and other measures. So I think it makes sense in that respect. The way it doesn't make sense is the fact that we're in a point now where vaccines are available for most people in the country, and a lot of people already have natural immunity. So, some doctors, I'm one of them, feel that it's time to sort of get off this COVID treadmill and allow people to make decisions for themselves.
And at some level, do you worry that telling vaccinated people to mask up is going to make it harder to convince people to get the vaccine?
I think that's true. What's interesting is at this point, though, if you look at the uptake of the vaccine over the past several months, we're getting to the flat of the curve. So we're now at a point where most everyone who wants it has gotten it. And the people who don't want it, whatever the CDC is going to say is probably not going to make a big difference for a lot of them.
It's important to note the differences in terms of exactly where people are and are not getting this, because it goes to the rates of this and hospitalizations. We're going to walk over to the touchscreen here and show you, especially in rural South parts of America. We're talking about Mississippi, Alabama, Arkansas, southern Missouri, especially right here where I'm from, northern Florida, low vaccination rates. And then if we're going to switch it over, we're going to see that those are also the places that have the highest rates of COVID in some of these states, especially southern Missouri, where we're seeing a number of the hospitals get overwhelmed. And doctor, I guess the question would be, in those places, is telling people to mask up going to keep them safe? Or is that just like taking nail clippers from grandma at the airport security?
Well, so the answer to your question is that it's unlikely to make a big difference. And that's the reality. The focus on masks has far outpaced any evidence for masks. I mean, it should be very obvious if you look at how these last 18 months have gone, mask mandates all over the country, and we've seen big surges and falls when there's more penetration of immunity. So, I get that people want to protect themselves, and there are ways to do that, and there's outpatient treatment, and there are other things, but the focus on masks is way outsized. I mean, it's very clear they're not nearly as effective as we're often told they are.
Well, certainly we can all agree that getting the vaccine is effective. And almost everybody who is in those hospitals in the states that we talked about are unvaccinated. Something between 99.5 and 100% of the people in the ICUs are unvaccinated. And a lot of it has to do with, in some of these areas, especially southern Missouri and Alabama, in Arkansas, it comes down to race. This is the Kaiser Family Foundation's graph that shows vaccination rates by race. Asian, 62%, white, 47%, Hispanic, 39%, black, 34%. That sort of flies in the face of the media narrative that it's the Neanderthal Trump voters who are causing this new surge in cases.
Yes, you do have to be very careful what you believe when you listen to the media, especially these days, because so much of it is agenda-driven. Well, you're absolutely correct. It is true that there is less uptake of vaccination among Republicans and Democrats, generally less among men than women. But there are also differences. That's not the whole story, right? So we know that among older people, looking at the numbers that you just cited, among older peoples, it doesn't look like that. So among older people, the rates of uptake are higher. Among younger people, they're lower. Among black and Hispanic people, they're lower. Among Asians, they're higher. White people are somewhere in between.
I want to get...
So there is more.
You talk about the narratives and the sort of the agendas, but the narrative we hear about specifically why African Americans aren't getting it, we're going to put the graph back up so folks can look at it. is that because of the history and sort of distrust of medical procedures, going back to the Tuskegee experiments and the other things which were truly awful. Joy Reid, though, tweeted this out, certainly a vocal voice in the African-American community. This was back in September. I mean, will anyone at all, ever fully trust the CDC again? Any who on God's earth would trust a vaccine approved by the FDA? How do we get a vaccine distributed after this broken Trumpist nonsense has affected everything, even if Biden wins? It seems as though that's proving true, perhaps not for the right reason.
Well, you know, it is an interesting issue, an important issue. And I think what I would suggest is that, you know, it's very difficult these days to be able to separate fact from people's political interests. So one of the things, yes, we do hear that, you know, it's because of Tuskegee that we're seeing lower rates in Black populations and other reasons related to that. And certainly, you know, the history is beyond a tragedy.
Yeah, atrocious.
But, you know, we have to be careful to be clear about what we know and what we don't know. And we actually don't fully know why the rates are lower in Black Americans. It's true. We don't know. We need to do research in those areas.
Words you never hear on television. It takes a very intelligent and secure man to say it. We don't know. When there's more answers, we're going to have you back, and more questions as well. Thanks, Doc. We'll be right back.
Thanks.